It is hilarious. You married Biggie when you wanted Tupac. That's hilarious. Hilarious is pretending like you didn't know that you weren't sure whether or not you were carrying Tupac's babies.
You know, he basically asked for oral at that point.
Well, in a very surprising and offensive way, for sure.
Faith Evans is reportedly quaking in her boots right now, as Jaguar Wright has reopened the lid on a secret that she's been running away from for decades. Some fans even claim Evans has gone off the radar since Jag's explosive expose, lending credence to what the no-hold-bars singer alleged. If you know Jaguar Wright, you'd realize that though she makes outrageous and downright ridiculous statements, which are often dismissed as garbage, most of them prove to be true. So far, she has some sort of credibility among hip-hop fans who see her to be somewhat of a truth teller who doesn't fear the repercussions of her words or actions. So many fans are taking her recent revelation on Faith Evans with the seriousness it deserves, believing that the singer is on to some real issues. But to be fair, this rumor about Faith Evans has been around since the 1990s, and each time it comes up, the singer has denied it vehemently. However, this time there's no hiding place and no denial for the 51-year-old, as Jaguar Wright has exposed what actually took place in the 90s. And trust me, some fans are having a field day. So what did Jaguar Wright expose about Faith Evans? And does she have any evidence to back her assertions? I have all the juice right here, girl, freshly squeezed and ready to serve.
Hilarious is pretending like you didn't know that you weren't sure whether or not you were carrying Tupac's babies.
Hip-hop in the 1990s was both scary and interesting. Gun violence on the streets, coupled with the lyrical battle between D-Row Records and Bad Boy Records, which later devolved into the demise of Tupac and Biggie, made that period quite an interesting one. Friends became sworn enemies and hounded each other, setting each other up for disaster. That period, many fans believe, was the most tense in the history of hip-hop, and right at the center of it was Faith Evans. The singer's role in the violence between Suge Knight's D-Row and Diddy's Bad Boy proved pivotal in the demise of the best rappers on both labels, Tupac and Biggie. The whole drama boiled down to one rumor, which the singer denied, but both camps took it seriously and were ready to go to war to prove a point. The rumor was started by Tupac, who claimed in a diss track to Biggie and Bad Boy he had slept with Faith Evans, who was Biggie's estranged wife. Biggie would flare up and confront his wife, who denied everything that Tupac said, but Biggie wouldn't believe her. The single rumor escalated the simmering tensions between the two camps and divided all hip-hop fans across the globe. Some believed Tupac's version of events, while others were on the side of Biggie and his wife, Faith Evans. These tensions were resolved a few years ago, but the rumor continued to simmer, and each time, Faith Evans denied them. Recently, Jag Wright waded into the controversy and appeared to have brought closure to the matter by claiming that Faith Evans truly carried Tupac's baby, as was the rumor at the time.
Hilarious is pretending like you didn't know that you weren't sure whether or not you were carrying Tupac's babies.
But the controversial singer didn't just leave it there. She named a witness who claimed she saw Faith Evans kicking it with Tupac in his car.
Hilarious is both of the niggas that I know and kick it with that worked at Death Row that heard Pac you in the booth.
The witness then allegedly took pictures of the steamy session and showed them to her people, who had a good laugh. The pictures, of course, never made it to the public, but it escalated the whole East Coast-West Coast rivalry. Now, if you're not familiar with the whole story, here's a brief background. Faith Evans and Biggie met in 1994 when they were both signed to the Bad Boy record label. However, the two star-crossed lovers fell in love when they signed up for a photo shoot for Bad Boy Records. The two would marry 2 months later, but that would mark the beginning of a tumultuous relationship that would end in Biggie's demise.
And I didn't go and put the schmurder on the girl or nothing. I actually had some accomplices, and we didn't probably even really hit her that much. I think it was just the whole scaring. That was just out of...
Biggie had begun cheating on Faith Evans with various girls, and Faith wasn't having it. So she confronted several of Biggie's mistresses, which often ended up in fisticuffs. One notorious mistress, though, was Lil' Kim, whom Biggie met before he met Faith and married her. Biggie and Lil' Kim met on the streets of New York, and he took a liking to her. Both of them were rappers, so they struck some wonderful chemistry and friendship that would defy all odds. Biggie then signed her to his group Junior Mafia, and they went on to release an album. However, the friendship continued even after Biggie got married to Faith Evans, with Lil' Kim later confessing that she loved him. "He became my friend, my lover, my everything. I was his biggest fan," Kim, who eventually joined Big's group Junior Mafia, told Entertainment Weekly. "He knew I would be the biggest female rapper. I think I inspired him to want to do different things and be different. We were a match made in heaven, like Sonny and Cher or Ashford and Simpson." As time went on, Biggie began spending less time at home on more time on the road. He could be gone for weeks, sometimes months, and even when he was in New York, he would rather be at a hotel. Biggie's new character bothered Faith Evans, who was also on the road, but came home whenever she had the opportunity. One time, she heard her husband was in New York, but was lodging at a hotel, so she decided to pay him an unannounced visit. Faith Evans was shocked because she didn't expect her husband to sleep with someone she saw as a sister. She became devastated because Lil' Kim came around the house often and hung out with her. Her husband Biggie often encouraged her to befriend Lil' Kim, go out with her, and see her as her sister. But all the while, he was sleeping with her behind his back. Faith Evans immediately left the scene and went home. She packed her bag and baggage and headed out the door, not knowing where she was going. All she wanted to do was to get away from Biggie and the whole Lil' Kim drama. Now, mind you, this was around the time that Tupac and Biggie were trading diss tracks, and the whole East Coast-West Coast rivalry was coming to a head. Tupac had dropped a diss song, which was targeted at Biggie and the entire Bad Boy Records label. When Faith Evans left Biggie's house, it wasn't long before she got a call from Tupac to feature on a track. Without thinking twice, Evans packed her bags and headed for Los Angeles, where the recording took place. On getting to the studios, she realized that it was a setup because he saw some guys from Suge Knight's label in there. Corrupt, a signee of Suge's label, knew that Tupac was up to something sinister. Faith didn't think anything was going to happen between the two because Tupac and Biggie used to be good friends. Moreover, she was in to do business that would fetch her $25,000, which she needed badly after deserting her marital home. So, moved into the booth and started her session. The song was "Wanda Why They Called You B," and appeared to be an indirect jab at both Faith Evans herself and Biggie. In a couple of hours, the songstress was done with her session and asked for her money, but Tupac told her to come and collect it in his hotel room. She suspected Tupac was up to something because the whole thing wasn't adding up. At the hotel, the legendary rapper asked her to give him a below job before he gave her the money, which she found strange.
He basically asked for oral sex at that point.
Well, in a very surprising and offensive way.
At that point, Faith knew she had been played, and she wasn't going to get her money. So, she left the hotel empty-handed and headed back to New York. Soon, word got around the streets that Tupac had slept with Faith Evans. To rub salt in the injury of his arch-enemy, Tupac included the supposed encounter in his diss track, "Hit 'Em Up." The whole issue blew up along both coasts, and fans of Tupac hailed him as a brilliant master planner who had outsmarted his rival and played his wife. The whole situation left a huge egg on Biggie and Faith's face, forcing the latter to come and deny she ever had a thing with Tupac.
We were never involved.
However, many fans didn't buy the excuse. They were 100% convinced that Tupac slept with Faith because why would she follow a sworn enemy of her husband to a hotel room? They asked. They wondered why Faith would even agree to sing on Tupac's song when he knew very well that her label was feuding with D-Row Records. Faith answered by claiming that she didn't know Tupac was signed to D-Row at the time. She only got to the studio where she saw a few of the D-Row artists and realized that she had been played. On why she didn't leave the studios immediately after discovering it was a setup, Faith explained that she was broke and needed the money at the time, so she was oblivious to the fact that Pac was working under D-Row Records. Despite the explanation, the story raged on for days, which turned to weeks, months, and later years. However, after a decade or so, it died down, and everyone went about business as usual until Jaguar Wright rehashed old wounds with her recent revelations. She claimed that Faith Evans had been lying to the world this whole time, and that she really did sleep with Tupac. To save his face, Biggie then released a diss track in which she claimed that if Pac did sleep with his wife, then his wife would be pregnant with 2 Pacs. It isn't clear the origin of her outbursts on Faith Evans, but it had something to do with Faith Evans' response to an allegation made by Jaguar Wright in an interview. The "I'll Be Missing You" singer described Jaguar Wright in one word, hilarious, which seemed to trigger her.
What is hilarious? What I said? or the fact that she didn't have anything else to say other than hilarious.
The hilarious bit flared Jag up, and she revealed that Faith Evans did warm Pac's bed, but she didn't end there. She claimed that the two had a secret child, which they'd either hidden or disguised as somebody else's child. She even cited witnesses to the case, mentioning the names of people whom she said were present when Tupac slept with Faith. Now, Faith claimed that Tupac propositioned her inside a hotel, but according to Jag, the whole incident happened in the recording booth. Jag claimed she found it hilarious that Evans would settle for a life far below her class and become a ghostwriter for Mary J. Blige. She concluded that she loved her cousin, but she should come out and tell the world the whole truth and stop hiding behind the curtains. From Wright's statements, fans could tell that she was more than convinced that Faith didn't only sleep with Pac, but also had a baby with him. Now here's where it all gets interesting. Apparently Jag isn't the only one to have claimed that Pac had an affair with Evans. One person who also ran with that story was Desiree Smith, the ex-girlfriend of Tupac. She recounted how Tupac planned the whole thing in a bid to get revenge on Biggie for betraying him.
He was trying to figure out how he could exact his revenge on Big.
Thus, she was 100% sure that the rapper All Eyes on Me had his way with Faith Evans. Explaining Pac's reason for doing that, she claimed that Pac thought Biggie was responsible for his shooting at the Quad Studios in New York. He felt that Biggie had set him up and wasn't loyal to him. Mind you, Biggie was a protege of Pac, so though the two rappers weren't writing together anymore, Pac expected at least an iota of loyalty. But he felt betrayed when Biggie and Puffy allegedly organized an ambush that resulted in him getting shot 5 times. The ambush was reportedly disguised as a robbery gone wrong, but Pac claimed he saw Biggie and Puffy in the studios and that some of the robbers appeared to be Diddy's men. Later, he would go to prison for essaying a fan, but he harbored the pain in his heart and planned to exact revenge on Biggie. According to Desiree, Pac's plan didn't involve shooting Biggie or Puffy, but he planned to musically crash them, which would send a message to all and sundry that he wasn't one to mess around with. Pac told Desiree he was going to sleep with one of Biggie's girlfriends, but he wasn't specific at the time about who he had in mind.
Oh, okay, yeah, good idea. Revenge, yeah, no. And so he was like talking about Little Kim or Faith.
Desiree disclosed that he helped Tupac along by choosing the girl who would be easy to get and who would hurt Biggie the most. She told Pac that Lil Kim seemed loyal to Bad Boy and was always riding with them, so it would be difficult to pry her away from the pack. However, Biggie and Faith seemed to have a lot of problems in their marriage. Newspapers were always reporting on their marital conflicts on a weekly basis, exposing their dirty secrets to the public. Plus, Faith wasn't always riding with the Bad Boy crew. She appeared to be a loner who, though she was signed to Bad Boy, didn't know much of what was going on with the group. So, she would be easy prey for Pac to exact his revenge on his former protege. Finally, his lot fell on Faith Evans because he knew that that would pierce the very heart of his nemesis and teach him a lesson he would never forget. So when he got out, he put the whole plan into action. And when he was done, he phoned Desiree that their plan had worked.
He's like, that bitch just left my hotel. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I fucked Faith. And I was like, oh.
Though she congratulated him, she wasn't necessarily happy with the outcome of the events. However, she did add that Pac had never lied to her before, and she believed him when he said he slept with Faith. Desiree said that Tupac also tricked Faith into doing the song as a diss to her and a shot at Biggie. It looked like Pac had done the double, slept with his enemy's wife, and then got her to record a song that insulted her. Anyways, Diddy and Biggie moved to have Faith's version wiped off the record because apparently D-Row records. Thus, Tupac had to do the chorus again, but the harm was already done. Tupac's revenge was exacted, and he was happy. What Desiree failed to mention was whether Tupac had a love child with Faith Evans or not. Tupac himself hasn't talked about any child with Faith, but Jaguar Wright seems to think that he fathered a secret baby with the I'll Be Missing You singer. Interestingly, Desiree wasn't the only person that Tupac called after he had allegedly slept with Faith Evans. He also called his cousin and told him that this is what he did with Biggie's wife. His cousin also claimed that Pac wouldn't lie, especially when it came to the women that he had messed with.
Was that he did call us, and right after it happened, and Pac never lied on his.
Now, a few fans noted an interesting pattern that I think I should bring to your attention. They wondered why Tupac would call people, especially his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, to tell her he had slept with another woman. It's understandable if he told his cousins and other male friends, as a lot of men like to kiss and tell. I mean, it is a matter of pride and pedigree for men to sleep with women and tell their friends. But it is weird that he told his girlfriend too. Many fans thought that Desiree's story was a bit off. Probably Tupac did tell her that he was going to sleep with her, but might not necessarily tell her when the deed was done. That isn't what men do. They usually wouldn't tell their girlfriends if they were going to smash another lady for revenge. But here we have Desiree telling the world that Pac called her immediately after he had finished with Faith, which also raises a different question. Why did Pac had to call so many people to tell them he slept with one woman? Some of them might be lying to chase clout. This isn't to say Pac didn't sleep with Faith, or he did, but it's something worth considering. Now here's where the whole story gets messier. According to Faith Evans, after Biggie heard of the incident, he called her and asked her to meet him wherever she was. Faith, feeling guilty that he had betrayed her husband and more than willing to make up for her past mistakes, went to meet him. She narrated that Biggie was super excited to see her, and the two of them ended up sleeping together in the same hotel. A few weeks later, she reported that she was pregnant and revealed that Biggie wasn't too excited about the news. Lingering at the back of his mind were the thoughts that the baby could belong to Tupac, given the timing of the events. Besides, they had been married since 1994, but the pregnancy came sometime in late 1995. However, Evans was able to convince Biggie that the baby was his, and they tried to move past the whole incident, but people still kept bringing it up. And frankly, it appears they have good reason to, because she keeps denying that she did sleep with Pac, even though almost everyone present at the studio that day claims the All Eyes on Me rapper did. One such person is Spice One.
Faith, that was Pac's girl. That was not his girl, but that was him and her and Pac had something together. They was fuck buddies.
He explained that both Faith and Pac weren't in love or anything, but they loved to engage their carnal desires once they were together alone in the same room. To give a vivid description of the relationship that existed between the two, he compared it with a friends with benefits kind of situation, where no emotions were involved. That relationship is only based on when and where a certain need arose and was always transactional, which means that one party got S and the other got money. It is different from engaging the services of a streetwalker, where you paid to get the cookie. In Pac's case, he killed two birds with one stone. First, he wanted a female voice in his song for a relatively low price and at the same time avenge his near-demise experience. So he contacted Faith, who was up for it. In Spice One's narration, Faith was the kind of woman who didn't care whether she was married, and neither did Tupac. All the two of them cared about was just engaging their animalistic tendencies whenever they had the opportunity to. However, Biggie fell in love with Faith, even though he appeared to know the kind of woman she was, at least according to Spice One.
Biggie fell in love with Faith. We all fall in love. It's not a fault of anyone. It happens. Bad bitch, you start liking her.
Spice One was insinuating that Biggie knew that Faith had loose morals, but still went ahead to marry her because love was blind. Then Spice One dropped a bomb that added a whole layer of complexity to the discussion. According to him, Pac told him that he had smashed Faith a couple of times, so he was sure Pac must have told Biggie that he had slept with Faith. Spice appeared cocksure about his convictions and claimed that he wasn't sure Pac hid his unhealthy relationship with Faith from Biggie, given their level of friendship. However, Biggie probably didn't give two hoots about what Tupac was saying. In his heart, he loved Faith Evans, and nothing anybody said or did could change that. So it kind of feeds into Jag's assertion that Faith may have had a child with Tupac because if the two of them were sleeping together even before Biggie came into the picture, then anything could have happened. Pac could have seized the opportunity to rub salt in Biggie's injury by going ahead to impregnate his wife and make him father the child. It would be the biggest insult and probably the biggest blow to Biggie and the entire bad boy fraternity, just as Pac sleeping with Faith was. Now, let me make this clear. Jaguar didn't mention the name of the child, so we can't conclude that C.J. Wallace Jr. is Pac's child. Rather, Jaguar was insinuating that Faith and Pac had a secret child that the singer had kept from the public eye, which is possible. First, Biggie might not want that kid to come out because it would be a daily reminder of Pac's revenge. Plus, it could also drive a bigger wedge between him and his wife. So the two of them would have loved to keep the baby far from the public eye. However, the burning question on the minds of most fans is if the baby isn't CJ Wallace, then when did Faith possibly conceive again and give birth? Now, CJ Wallace was conceived and born around the same time as the whole incident, which puts him in the picture. However, Jag claims the child is a secret, so fans are kind of confused a little bit.
If she felt a way about something that Biggie was doing, then hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Now, here's an interesting twist in the tale that kind of lends credence to Jaguar Wright's assertions. According to Kirk Burrows, the former president of Bad Boy Records, Faith might have slept with Pac as a way of getting back at Biggie. He explained that Biggie was cheating on Faith with Lil' Kim and other girls, which Faith herself acknowledged in a video I played earlier. So he feels Faith just packed her bags and went over to LA to cheat on Biggie for all that he put her through. He explained that it was a perfect revenge on a business, societal, and personal level because people would talk about it and the newspapers would publish it in their entertainment sections. He claimed that though Biggie never confided in him, he knew that he was deeply affected by Evan's actions, which was actually what she wanted. On a business level, Burrows claims that the company had to go extra steps to protect its image and artists. This included making moves to have Faith's voice removed from the record. Plus, in the grand scheme of things, the company's image was affected because many fans thought that Tupac had masterminded their defeat. From Burrows' words and demeanor, you can deduce that he feels that was actually the case because Faith Evans' story didn't add up.
But I don't know how to make sense of that since it was, I think, widely known in the music world that he signed a contract while.
According to him, it was public knowledge that Tupac had signed with Suge's record label while in prison, so Faith claiming she didn't know Pac was with D Records didn't add up. He claimed that that piece of information was important to Bad Boy Records, especially given Biggie's relationship with Tupac at the time. Thus, the label must have disseminated that information to every Bad Boy artist to be wary of doing anything with Bad Boy Records. Therefore, Faith's story that she didn't know that Pac was signed to their arch rivals was BS. Now, if that's true, then it means that Faith Evans had planned the whole thing and was only pretending not to have known that Pac was with D-Row, according to Jaguar Wright. From the look of things, Jag may be right about Faith having a secret child with Biggie because if she could lie about not knowing Pac was on Suge's label, then she could lie about anything. Interestingly, Jag has been proven right on a couple of occasions, so fans are hoping that she will be proven right on this one too, which draws the curtains on today's video. Thanks for watching.